When creating windows in our floor plans, we're going to be doing them super similar to our door openings. We're going to first create the openings in the walls, and then we're going to place the windows in. Windows are also known as glazing. So we're going to be creating two new layers called a glaze and a glaze sill. The glaze is the glass drawn for our window, and the sill is like the frame or the wood portions around it. So when we look at our different layers, the wall is going to come out and stop where the window starts. So we still use our offsets and trims within our wall layer. Then when we put in our glass, we're going to be putting in that one in the middle of our lines, so from midpoint to midpoint. And then the sill goes from endpoint to endpoint of our walls. There are two different ways that we're going to be doing this. The first one is going to be on the basement, and those windows are all going to be 4 foot in length. They're all a little bit different. You notice I scrolled down quite a bit. It tells us about our first floor and second floor openings. Those are going to have two different size windows, a wider one being 6 feet 8, and then a single window being 3 foot 2. Let me go ahead and show you those differences, and then we'll get into drawing them. So here on the first floor plan, in our garage, we have two kind of shorter, narrower windows. Those will be the single windows at 3 foot 2. Over here, we have a 3 foot 2 window, and then you'll notice that we have this super wide window. That's going to be one of the doubles at 6 feet 8. Over here we have a 6 foot 8 window, again a 6 foot 8, another 6 foot 8, 6 foot 8. Down here we have a little single window, that one will be 3 foot 2, and then over here a double window at 6 feet 8. So let's go ahead and open up our basement, and we'll put in these windows first. So floor B. First, we want to do our offsets and trims in our A wall layer. I'm going to start with this first wall here, and I'm going to offset this top line down 6 feet. Oh, it doesn't like me again. So let's see. Offset. There we go. 6 feet. All right, and then it's a 4 foot opening. So I'm going to offset this line here down 4 feet. There's 8 feet 8 inches in between each one. And then it's another 4 foot window. All right, I'm going to go ahead and trim these things on up, trim them out, and then get rid of these extra lines that were left over. All right, up top, we're going to have the first offset being this line over 5 feet 4, and then 4 foot, 13 feet 4, another 4 foot, and then we can trim. All right, we need to create those two new layers, a glaze and a glaze sill. So on the layers panel, I can create the new one of caps lock, a-glaze. A glaze, if I go back and look, is going to be yellow. And then a glaze sill will be red. After you've created both of those layers, go ahead and set your a glaze sill to current. One trick that I like to do when drawing in my sills and my glass or the glazing is I like to turn on my midpoint snap as well. That way I don't have to always right click and choose the midpoint whenever I put in my glazing. I do prefer to put in all of my sill lines first. That way I don't have to switch between each layer every single time that I want to put a new line in. And then I'll come back through and I'll put in all of my pieces of glass themselves. So swap layers, start a new line. With that midpoint command, I'm using the Enter key to stop a command and restart my line tool. That way I don't have to sit there and click on the line tool over and over again. Once you've completed your basement floor plan, save it, and we'll talk about your first floor plan on the next segment. All right, looking at this document for our first floor plan, we're gonna have to remember those two different size windows. They're not gonna be 4 feet like in the basement. Our single windows are going to be 3 feet 2 inches in width, and then our double windows are going to be 6 feet 8 inches in width. We're gonna do these just like the doors and creating the openings first. First, we want to offset over first we want to offset over the distance to the middle of the window, and then we want to offset out half the distance left and right or up and down for each of those doors. Now, when I offset to find my midpoint, I want to be in the A wall layer, and I'm going to modify offset. We'll start with this far north wall. When I offset over, I want to come in 7 feet 8 inches. And then I'm going to offset left and right half of that double width. The double width is 6 feet 8 inches wide, so 3 feet 4 will be my new offsets for each of those windows. I can trim those up, trim them out, and then get rid of my extra lines. Now, when I do a single window, I'm going to skip around. I'm going to do the one down here in this bottom corner. When I offset over for my single window, I'm still going to use the same technique to find the midpoint. But now when I divide 3 feet 2 inches in half, if I was using the technique I told you earlier to separate the feet from inches, and I tried to offset this here, half of 3 is 1.5 feet, and half of 2 is 1 inch, I get this invalid input. I can't put in a decimal point of a foot and inches at the same time. It doesn't work. So in my mind, I need to divide 3 feet by 2, and I get 1.5 feet, but I personally convert that to inches. 1.5 feet converted to inches is 18 inches. Now 1 more inch would be 19. So when I do my offset, I offset over 19 inches, both left and right. And then I use my trim. Using the same technique, you're going to be putting in your A-glaze sill and A-glaze layer. On your double windows, you're going to have an extra little line. That line separates the two windows from each other, similar to what we have up here. So on the single windows, you do not have this line, and on the double windows, you will. After you've completed your windows and your glazing, make sure that only your double windows have those little separator lines. Like this window down here, this is a single. It should not have that separator line.